Good morning. Good morning. My name is Reverend Ron Card, and I am on staff at the Centers for Spiritual Living, Carlsbad, in Carlsbad, California. This is our Sunday morning message. And I would like to take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you here this morning on this beautiful, beautiful Sunday morning. The name of my talk this morning and what I want to talk about is surrender is action. And it is an action. Surrender is an action. We take action when we take a step back from something or when we pause from what is really kind of going on around us. You kind of take that time out. We are in the month of December, and this is the last month of the year. And this is a perfect, perfect time to talk about surrender. During this month, we step back and we kind of take a conscious look at the things that have unfolded in our lives throughout this last year. And it's not only a time to kind of take a look back, but it's also time to take a glimpse at what we are attracting in our lives and where do we want to go from here? What is it that we want to see or do in this brand new baby year that's coming up? This is the time to, during this month, as we think about that, this would be the time to sit and to kind of be with ourselves, right where we are, listening to that small, still voice as it speaks, giving ourselves over to the mystery as what is to come. I believe that life is God in action. In fact, I believe as we do go through life, this is spirit unfolding into more of itself. I believe that the thoughts and the ideas and the inspirations that we have is spirit kind of nudging us along. In the Science of Mind textbook on page 477, it's in the second paragraph. It says that our mind should swing from inspiration to action, from contemplation to accomplishment, and from prayer to performance. This would be a well balanced existence. Surrender to me is an active verb, it's an action, and it requires a conscious choice to move from control into relaxing into the order of the divine. We don't surrender into chaos. What we surrender into is order. And we spend so much time in our lives trying to control things that we forget. We forget we have this power, this presence, for good in the universe. This presence that we call God and that we can use it. It's there, whether we realize it or not, and whether we want to use it or not. It is there. But before we can use it, we must step back and we must let go. We must make room. We must be in that space where spirit can speak. Surrendering further, we let go of all the sense of separation and we enter into a state of conscious union with spirit, with the divine. And this is when we begin to pay attention to all those little nudges. In the Hanukkah story, the oil lasted 8 days after the Jewish people rebuilding their temples accepted that it would only last for one day. But what they did is they lit their lamps anyways, rather than try to stretch the oil or otherwise impose their will. They let go into the reality of the situation and miraculously found that they had what they needed. And you can too. You know, one of the ways that we, one of the ways to surrender is to practice the presence. Practicing the present is the practice of the principles of oneness, the principles of love and creation, and to become aware of and experience the one infinite reality. The practice of the presence is engaging in formal, disciplined mythologies that quiet the mind, that quiet the body, and open awareness. Beyond these formal mythologies, it is living in alignment with our science of mind principles, making these principles evident in the way we engage in the present moment, thereby being congruent in thought, in word, and also in action. Eckhart Tolle, what he says is, let me give you a visual analogy to illustrate the point of surrender. Say you're walking along a path at night, surrounded by a thick fog, but you have a powerful flashlight that cuts right through that fog and creates a narrow, clear space in front of you. The fog is your life situation, which includes both the past and also the future. But the flashlight is your conscious presence. The clear space is in the now. That's when everything happens. It happens right here and right now. It can't happen in the past because it's already, and it can't happen in the future because it hasn't happened yet. So we must be in the now. And when we surrender to the presence and the power of the divine love within us, everything becomes possible. Everything. And when we listen for and we surrender to that inner guidance, we receive exactly what we need. Following it with faith instead of questioning and resisting it moves us to a powerful and healing action. And this healing action must extend itself into the world beyond itself. I want to talk a little bit about control. Most of my life, I've tried to control my life. Unfortunately, haven't had a lot of success, but control does have its place. But we must learn when it's time to let it go, to let it go, to surrender, and to let God. The question becomes, is what do we have control over? Really, when you really think about it, how much of our life do we have control over it? Another good question is, what fear do we have about letting go of control? Because if we're not letting go and we're not surrendering and we're not stepping back, obviously there is something there. We fear something. It could be our ego. We let our ego take over. And what we do is by letting the ego take over, we edge God out. Think of the effect on ourselves when we try to have control over someone or maybe over something. We all do it. We all do this. The thing that keeps coming up for me is the sale of my house. And that is something I really learned big time from that. A few years ago, my wife Linda and I, we purchased this manufactured home. It was located in a great park, but it was a fixer-upper. The gentleman that we had purchased it from, he was he was on drugs. He had his downfall. But what he was doing is he was selling everything in the house. He took all the doors off the hinges. He sold the door to get money. He sold a lot of things off the house to get money. But like I mentioned before, it was a fixer-upper. And that's exactly what we have done over the last few years. We've put a lot of money into it, and we've replaced a lot of things. I replaced all the doors, the floor. I had to redo the ceiling. So a lot of work went into it. Then earlier this year, we started looking at this real estate boom that's going on. And one afternoon, Lynn and I, we were driving around and I looked at her and said, geez, I wonder what our home is worth. So we invited a real estate agent down to kind of take a look at our home and kind of get an idea if we could sell it, what would we sell it for? Now, of course, we weren't sure that we wanted to sell it, but I think a large part was more curiosity and just, yeah, to find out what the value of it was. Once the work was completed, what we did is we had the real estate guy come in, and what he told us is there's a few things that we needed to do in order to sell it. And I told him what I was willing to do on it. And once the work was completed, what we did is we wanted to put the house on the market. But I kind of got a little ahead of myself because I'm going to tell you, when I found out how much my house was worth, oh my God. I mean, it was hard resisting the idea of not selling it because I never thought in my wildest dreams that my house would even be worth that. And so we did put it on the market. And boy, it was quite a ride. We had offers that fell through. We had offers, with people who hadn't even saw it yet, which kind of puzzled me. I understood it, but it really kind of puzzled me a little bit. And, we just, we went partially through escrow on some of them, but never all the way through. So to be there, I wanted to be there in every phase of this operation. And I was there during the inspection that we had that partially was the escrow. And I was there when the work was all being completed. I want to make sure it's being completed right. And I felt that I was in complete control. I checked in with the realtor. I tried to really stay on top of things. But the house got to be where it was on for 60 days, hadn't sold yet. And shortly after that, Linda and I decided that, well, maybe it's time to do something a little different. That saying that we have that if you do something the same way all the time, what do you expect different to happen? Well, we're going on 60 plus days and the same things are happening. People are coming in and we're getting the same results. So what we decided to do is we wanted to take it off the market. The bubble was kind of disappearing. I won't say disappearing, but the sale of houses when we first put it on, boy, they were gone within a couple of days. And now it was like they had really slowed. And the prices, though, remained pretty high. But we were going into the winter season, we're going into holidays, and, we kind of thought, well, why do we want to put ourselves through this? A lot of times when someone's coming to look at your house, you have to go through and make sure all the lights are turned on and everything's picked up and looks really good, and then you have to leave. And so we thought what we do is maybe take it off the market and maybe put it back on in early spring. And so what we did is we met with our real estate agent and we told him what we wanted to do. We were willing to let it go, kind of surrender, and maybe sell the house at a later time, maybe come back in spring. And he responded, he said, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. We can do that. But then he kind of stood back and he kind of said, I have this one client. I'd like to show her your house. Now, I really wasn't going to do this. I wasn't going to show her your house because I'm not sure if your house is quite what she's looking for. But for whatever reason, I really would like to show it to her. And, Linda and I, we just kind of looked at each other. And so we said, okay, let's do that. And if nothing develops, what we want to do is we want to take it off the market. So we did. And after it was shown to her, he called me and he just told me that she absolutely loved the home. She wanted to buy it. And even my next door neighbor, when I was out barbecuing that evening, came over and told me that she was listening to him in the backyard, and she was telling the agent how much she wanted my home. Please don't let anybody else have it. Please, I wanna put an offer in on it. Well, we are in escrow, and everything is oh, bless me, woo, and everything is unfolding perfectly. I feel good about the sale, and I really do feel good about the sale. Something I had not felt with the other offers that we had. But it wasn't until we decided to do something different, and just surrender and maybe just let go and see what happened. And it was when we did that, everything began to fall into place. I feel sometimes that we kind of get in our own way. We prevent the good from happening, from the good from really reaching us. I feel that when we become still and we listen long enough, we will hear the voice of the heart. We will hear that voice of the soul. And that is what Linda and I did when we made that decision about our house. We not only talked about it, we meditated on it. We did prayer on it. We were willing to be still long enough to wait, to move away from what was happening, the situation around us. We both listened from within. And listening from faith and surrendering to our own divinity is our essential nature. That is what we are here to do. We all, what we all need to do is to follow that inner guidance more and more. And we need to have faith. We need to move into action from the truth within when we hear that, when we get that nudge. This movement can truly be an authentic when it shows up in the world outside of you. You are the example for this. We each are the example for this. Be still and know you are God. We are all godlings. God is right here with us all the time. It is not enough just to say it or think it or even affirm it. You are called to live it more and more in your own unique way for yourself and for others. One of the most important spiritual practices here, and I just mentioned it, is meditation. This is listening to that power within. Take time and be still and listen to the voice of truth already within you. Listen for that guidance. This way, our actions come from our essence and not from our egos. When we begin to try to take too much control, when we are coming from a place where we're too good or we're too high on the pole, we are looking at it from the ego, the way our actions fuel us and not deplete us is by going within, listening to that voice within. Another important spiritual practice is prayer. I believe with prayer, all things are possible. I do prayer all the time. When I hear someone sick, the situations in my home, I listen. I listen and I do prayer because I know that all things become possible. I know with prayer, I'm aligning up what it is I want to attract in my life. An affirmation that you can use is, I lay all burdens on the altar of divine love. I lay all burdens on the altar of divine love. I want to say thank you for joining me this morning. And please tune in next week on Facebook Live at Sunday morning at 10 a.m. for another Sunday morning message. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.